Very good evening, everyone. I hope all of you are doing well and staying safe. I am Surya Meghna and I belong to the mammography product team at GE Healthcare South Asia. Today, it is one of the most opportune occasions that GE Healthcare, along with Jeevanmala Hospital, is conducting this Go Digital Breast Cancer and Digital Mammography Awareness Webinar for the benefit of our patients. I am truly honored to welcome and introduce our esteemed panelists. First, we have Dr. Glossy Sabharwal, who is a radiologist specializing in women imaging and breast interventional radiology. With acclaimed credentials from India, the US, and EU, he has to her credit many renowned publications and presentations as faculty in various national as well as international conferences. He did a fellowship in breast interventional radiology under Dr. Luc Rothenberg in Paris, France, and has ever since developed a keen interest in this field. With a strong conviction in the concept of proactive health, he has dedicated her last 10 years with a key focus on preventing the disease even before it happens. Mammography screening has been one of the core areas of this program, to which now Dr. Glossy, along with GE, is introducing the revolutionary new modality of digital mammography, an affordable screening tool for the early detection of breast cancer. Married into a family of 150 plus doctors, which is one of the largest in the world, and with a legacy of 5 generations of doctors, he now has a responsibility of carrying the baton forward. Very hearty welcome to you, Dr. Glossy. And our next distinguished panelist is Dr. Padmavati Dua, who has practiced radiology for 27 years in the capital. Her area of operation has been mammography and bone densitometry. Known to her friends as Chinna Dua, she has eclectic interests ranging from creating awareness on social-related issues, health-related issues to music, cooking, handwork, and dressing up, especially in saris. She was born and raised in Delhi, and she is an alumnus of Lady Hardinge Medical College. She trained under the radiologist of the millennium, Dr. Sudarshan Agarwal, director of the iconic Dewan Chand Agarwal Imaging and Research Center, Kasturba Gandhi Marg, for 24 years till it shut down in 2016. Thereafter, she worked for a year at the Yashoda Hospital, Kaushambi, for 2 years, and at Colonel Pant's Imaging Center, Green Park. However, after having worked with Dr. Sudarshan Agarwal, she found it difficult to work anywhere else and decided to take a sabbatical in August 2019. She keeps herself occupied with her diverse interests. A very warm welcome to you, Dr. Dua. And now, for the final panelist, we have Ms. Rashmi Jha. She is a graduate from CMAI St. Stephen's Hospital, New Delhi, in medical imaging technology. He has over 8 years of experience in managing radiology equipment and has worked as a medical imaging technologist and application specialist in several hospitals, including Fortis Escorts Heart Institute in New Delhi. He is currently working at GE Healthcare as an application specialist for our newly launched product, MammoD UK. Finally, I also want to thank all our participants and delegates who have registered and joined on this webinar to listen to our distinguished speakers. Now, with breast cancer cases increasing, especially in the younger age group, breast cancer screening and mammography have become extremely important. So, in today's session, we will talk about introducing breast cancer screening in below 40 and the above 40 age group, what role mammography plays in the screening, and importantly, what is digital mammography and how is it beneficial to the patient as compared to non-digital mammography. And all this will be followed by a Q&A session. And you all participants can keep posting your questions in the chat box and we will take them towards the end. Now, may I request Dr. Glossy Sabharwal to initiate the proceedings by expressing her views on breast screening. Please, ma'am.
A very good evening, a very warm welcome, and thank you, Meghna, for your explicit introduction about the panelists, about the panel. Thank you so much. Here I am, welcoming you all. In the middle of the pandemic, why are we talking about breast cancer? Why are we talking about screening? The simple reason is that we are fighters. There is coronavirus, we all know that. And then there is our strength, our human strength, which we will fight come what may. I belong to a family of 5 generations of doctors. And I owe this entirely to my mother-in-law, Dr. Malvika Sabharwal, who told me, Glossy, you have to make sure that your patients have the confidence that you will be able to take care of them. You have to build a team. You have to have confidence in others and in yourself that you will be able to fight it out. And here we are. In the middle of the pandemic, we are talking about breast screening, breast cancer, and all of this. COVID-19 has taken our life for a toll. We all know that. The world is suffering, we are suffering. But at the same time, we know what we can do. And let's focus on that rather than focusing on what we cannot do. Breast cancer, in particular in women's health, has played a very, very important role. Especially COVID-19 has put a very negative impact on it. What we observed, it's been more than a year now, that due to COVID-19 pandemic, patients who had breast cancer and patients who were undergoing screenings and treatment for breast cancer could not take their treatment completely. Patients could not undergo annual screenings, and with the result, what happened? We had so many cases of breast cancer that we thought that the cancer is in itself on a rise. No doubt it is, not only in men and women as well, but because of the pandemic, we could not go for our annual routine screenings, and instead of breast cancer being diagnosed at an early stage, it was left inside us to be diagnosed at a later stage. Now, this kind of a thing needs to be avoided. We have to make sure life will go on, we will go on, and we will continue with our annual screenings. Today, we have gathered important information for you here. We have divided, just for our simplification, women under the age of 40 and women over the age of 40, that what we should do from our side to keep breast cancer screening up to date, as it's one of the few cancers which can be prevented, which can be early diagnosed, and we have a test that can diagnose it well on time. And that test is mammography, which our expert, Dr. Padmavati Dua ma'am, will speak about it. So let's, without wasting further time, we talk that, okay, if I am below the age of 40, what do I need to do? Number one, let's go with a 3-step approach. The first thing is, and I love to do that because I feel when we have 1, 2, 3, we tend to remember it more rather than having, a list of things. First thing that we should do is self-breast examination. Starting from the age of 20, we must teach our daughters, we must teach our friends, ourselves, how to do self-breast examination. The best time to do self-breast examination is after your periods get over, within first 10 days from the starting of your periods, when your breasts are soft and supple and there is no pain, you are going to examine yourself. The importance here lies not only in the technique, that of course it is, but also the timing that you are doing it every month. Most of the girls, most of the women tend to do it 1 month, forget doing it for next 3 months, then do it again. Your mind, your body needs to be trained to feel the normalcy, then to differentiate it from something that is abnormal. So self-breast examination is number 1 step. Number 2nd step, after the age of 20, at least you should have your breast cancer risk assessment done by your specialist doctor. What is this breast cancer risk assessment? We divide ourselves into a low risk category, a moderate risk category, and a high risk category. For example, if my family has a history of breast cancer versus to my friend having a family history of ovarian cancers versus to my friend not having any history of breast cancer. So we cannot categorize everyone in a single umbrella. We need to have a different approach for the risk assessment. So once you go to your doctor will do the risk assessment for you and categorize you are falling in a low or a moderate risk category. Most of us fortunately fall in low or moderate risk category. So then what happens? Up to the age of 40, we prefer, starting from 30 to 35, 35 to 40, according to your risk assessment, you are going to get. So number two step would be, number one was self-breast examination. Number two was clinical breast examination, which is annual every year, and your risk assessment, which happens in your doctor's office. Number three is your breast ultrasound up to the age of 40. Once a year, getting a breast ultrasound, and depending on the finding of the breast ultrasound, you will be either advised just a follow-up, which is annual routine, or you will be told to come a little earlier than that because a doctor found something which they need to keep an eye on, or they find that no, we are not sure what it is. We have to do further investigation, which could be an MRI, which could be a tomosynthesis, which could be a biopsy. So this kind of a plan, if we follow, then it becomes very easy. And it's very, very easy. You do a self-breast examination when? Every month. What time? When your periods get over. You do annual breast checkup by your doctor. You get a risk assessment done for everyone. You do an annual ultrasound, and depending on your ultrasound findings, you will be either called every year or every 6 months according to the findings. So this is for women below the age of 40. Now we have women above the age of 40. Above the age of 40, our self-breast examination remains same. However, now we have greater proportion of women in the perimenopausal phase. So if you're not getting your periods regularly, it's okay. If they are erratic, if you had hysterectomy, if you don't know when your periods are going to fall, it's okay. Then you choose one day of the month when you are going to do a self-breast examination. So once that is done, that part is over. Make a small calendar. I like it when it's next to my mirror in the washroom because I know I've done it, and I'll put a little tick that my checklist is done for the month. After that, you're going to do your same clinical breast examination with your doctor, doing your risk assessment, following it up. And after the age of 40, it is mammography, which has been proven to be the only test that has reduced mortality and morbidity in breast cancer. The uses of mammography, the benefits of mammography, why screening is important, all of that Dr. Padmavati Dua is going to discuss. So these are some things which we need to follow. And this is very simple, very easy. But yes, the patients who have been in such a pandemic stage for a year and a half are in a dilemma, whether they should go for the mammography, for their breast checkup, or they should wait for the pandemic to get over. And thinking that it's been more than a year. Time will only tell what is right, what is not. Because we are scared for you to get exposed. Yes, we tell you not to get exposed. You have to be inside. Just be at home. Don't go to the clinics. Don't go to the hospitals. But at the same time, get connected to your doctor. Speak to your doctor. Do a video consult. Talk to them. Ask about your thing. Do your own self-breast examination. And if you find something, then take a time, take an appointment when the clinics are clear, there are less patients. You follow the protocol. Do not miss your annual screening, because we want to treat you at a stage when happily we can send you back home. That's very, very important, rather than undergoing a thing where we say that, yes, sorry, we cannot do anything. So I now request Dr. Padmavati Dua, thank you so much, ma'am, for agreeing to be with us, for giving us your time, for giving us all the strength, all the positivity to Jeevanmala family. We are indebted to you, ma'am. Somebody that she's not only a professional, she's a mother to a beautiful daughter. She is a wonderful wife. She's a wonderful person who knows how to connect happily to people, how to spread the right message, and to be aware about your health, very, very importantly. We have Dr. Dua here with us. Thank you, ma'am, for joining us. Over to you. Please tell us, ma'am, why is screening mammography so important? Why is screening breast cancer so important?
Thank you very much, Glossy, for all the kind words. I must begin by saying that I'm very, very honored to be here. A very, very good evening to all of you. And I'm particularly honored to be here because Glossy, of course, I know much later, but I know her parents-in-law for many, many years. In fact, I know her mother-in-law because we went to the same college, Lady Hardinge Medical College, but we were not friends. In fact, we are from the same school as well. Okay, so the association is very, very long, and they are family to us, and they've always treated us as very, very special. So there was no question of me refusing to be here. It is an honor. Thank you so much, Glossy, for inviting me to be here. At the outset, what I would like to tell you is that, ma'am, why do we say screening mammography? Why are we not saying only mammography? Because mammography is of two types, screening and diagnostic. We need to differentiate that. Diagnostic, why I'm saying first about the diagnostic is just I'll briefly touch on it. The diagnostic is when you have a problem, you have a lump, you have pain, you have discharge, you are getting a mammography done in order to get something diagnosed. That's called diagnostic. But when you have no complaints, but you are just getting it done. Now you may ask, why are we getting it done if we have no complaints? The reason being that over the years, it was discovered that breast cancer, once it's discovered, if it is discovered at an early stage, like I have seen, there have been patients, I still remember a patient, 65-year-old, who came to me. She had never had a mammography done. That was sheer luck. And she just thought one day that she should come. And she had one of those very, very tiny microcalcifications and at a very, very small area. And she just got it removed, and with no chemotherapy, no radiotherapy, and she's absolutely fine. This is what I say, that God sent, but we all are not so lucky. Okay. By the time people detect a lump, many people don't even do breast self-examination. Like Glossy said, people are not aware. When it becomes really large and they discover it, by the time sometimes it is really spread very all over your body. So it's important that we detect it at an early stage, because it's been found out that early detection can result in complete cure. Yes, in many, many patients we have seen. I know of women with bilateral breast cancers who have survived for 35 years. Okay, so it's very important. Early detection is the key. There is no other thing. That is why we do screening, so that we discover it before you come up with any symptoms. So screening mammography is of utmost importance in order to reduce morbidity, to reduce mortality, and the kind of treatment that you're going to get. So, supposing it's very tiny, like I said just now about this patient, all you have to do is just a small area to be excised. The larger it becomes, you have to excise a larger area, maybe remove the entire breast, maybe remove the lymph nodes. Then again, whether you need a chemotherapy or not, whether you need radiation or not, everything then increases the morbidity and the mortality risk. So it's very, very important that we do a screening mammography. That is why we are here to talk about it.
Thank you so much, ma'am. That was very crisp and to the point, right there, spot on. And tell us, what is the right time to get the mammogram done?
I would say if we are doing it in the reproductive age group before one has attained menopause, ideal would be in terms of the time of, first I will tell you the age of the cycle of the period. It's ideally done just like breast self-examination soon after your periods, because that's when the breast is softest and the density will not be as much as it would be otherwise, when especially when you're getting it done say in mid-cycle, when there are these hormonal surges because of ovulation, the breast will be dense. Once it is dense, it's very difficult to see. I would like to elaborate on what is dense breast and what is fatty breast. Every breast has fat as well as glandular tissue. The proportion varies in each person. When I say fat, it doesn't mean that a fat person will have more fat. I've seen the thinnest of people having absolutely fatty breasts and very obese people having a very glandular breast. So when we say dense means there is a lot of gland. The density of the glands is the same as the density of the malignant lumps which we are concerned about. There are benign lumps also with the same density, but we are concerned about the malignant ones. So they have the same density and they merge. The example, the analogy that I'd like to give is if we were to go and play cricket in a cricket field as opposed to playing in a jungle, where would you be able to locate the ball easily? Obviously in a cricket field as opposed to a jungle. The same thing happens with the breast lumps as well. A lump which is cancerous and the breast is dense, white against white, as we see on mammography, it will get merged and we can miss it. So that is why we do further tests like ultrasound or MRI at times. But if it is a fatty breast and you have a lump, you are very lucky that you can see there is a good contrast and you're able to make out. So that is why we always say that every case is different from the other. Sometimes the young patients have a very fatty breast, and even at 80 I have seen glandular breast like that of a 16-year-old or a 16. Why I'm saying this because I have done mammogram when I joined. Ultrasound was not so great and neither was MRI very great. 17-year-olds also we had to do mammogram, which I feel was a terrible thing to do, but we have to. So nowadays we recommend mammogram. There is a debate over it. Some people say between 35 and 40 you should have at least one mammogram. Many people say that you start at 40. This also varies from country to country because the population is not homogeneous, and in our country it's even more heterogeneous. So we cannot be very categorical. We have to kind of titrate, like we say, you know, that kind of a thing. We have to decide on every case whether we can do it or not. Sometimes even in a young individual, after doing all the tests, we might have to do a mammogram because the suspicion is very high. So otherwise, in a younger age group, less than 40, we always say ultrasound and MRI are the preferred modalities of choice. After that, if we suspect something, we may have to do a mammogram, but I'm not being categorical about it. And there is nothing against doing that, but obviously it all depends on the density of the breast. But after 40, we would always say that the order in which you do it is like self-breast examination, and then you must do a mammogram first. After that, again, it depends on what is your finding. You might have to go in for an ultrasound and maybe even MRI after that, and further even a biopsy after that. So that is how it works.
Great, ma'am. Thank you so much. Ma'am, tell me something. A lot of patients come up, yes, they have breast lump. Is every lump supposed to be taken as the C factor that it's a cancer? Or I have a lump and it's moving, it's soft, I can just ignore it. What is it about the lumps that we should be careful about? And what is it that you want to stress upon that we should not do when it comes to breast lumps?
Okay. Now, the good thing is that lumps in the breast can both be cancerous and non-cancerous, and by and large they are non-cancerous lumps. That's a good thing. They are ones which we call as the hormonal lumps. They can be fibroadenomas and they can be cysts. Cysts are filled with water. Fibroadenomas are those which are made of the glandular tissue. But the good news is that by and large they are not all malignant. But having said that, cancer is on the rise, not only in women but also in men, mainly because of lifestyle changes. And I completely agree with Glossy. Thanks to COVID, the stress has really heightened, and stress is one of the most important factors for causing not only breast cancer but cancer anywhere. Earlier we used to say breast cancer is a cancer of aging. As you age, the chances become higher. I have seen now at 26, I have seen at 28, at 35, and that is all stress related. Of course, there are other factors also like pollution, radiation from our digital equipment that we have, and also the younger population is very stressed due to multiple things, you know. So, you know, I think in my mother's times, My mother didn't have to do so much of multitasking like the mothers now have to do. They have to attend to their home, they have to attend to their career, their children and whatnot. So I think definitely that stressful element does spring up, So one very important thing is that if you discover a lump, just because you have read that it is moving, so you cannot sit back. Okay, sometimes in the initial stages, the breast cancer lump can also be moving. Okay, but it takes a while for it to infiltrate the rest of the tissues and gets fixed. So please don't go by Google acquired knowledge. Please seek the support of your surgeon. Okay, and let that person examine you and advise you further tests and then go and do it. Okay. Also, what many people do is just go to a neighborhood doctor and who decides that he or she is going to put in a needle. This is one thing I like to emphasize. Please do not get a needle put in the breast lump, and that too without imaging guidance. Number one, do not put in a needle till all your imaging is over. Very, very important. I have gone through this, okay, because supposing say it's a cyst which is filled with water and you put in a needle and you remove it with a syringe, it collapses, and after say 15-20 days it gets refilled, and then you are getting worried as to what has happened. Number two, if you're not doing it under imaging guidance, supposing this is a lump, I can just pass it by like this on the side, or it may have cancerous and non-cancerous tissues. I may not hit the cancerous tissue at all, and I am just removing some fluid and saying, oh, it's all okay, you're fine. That's not how it is done. And also, because the entire character of the lump will change for 15 days after a needle biopsy, we say no imaging to be done for 15 days. So you are losing out on time. Why do that? So let's finish with all the imaging modalities, be it mammography, be it ultrasound, be it MRI, and then put in a needle, and that too, as opposed to what it used to be during my times where we used to put in a thin needle called FNAC. Now it is very important to put only a biopsy needle, a vacuum assisted biopsy like we do. So it's important to put a thick needle and where we get a thicker core so that we are able to get more tissue and we are able to get more information about the tissue. So we are able to do histopathology properly to know what kind of cells, and this is important not only in the diagnosis, in the further treatment, because what kind of receptors does it have, and accordingly the treatment will also be done. So it's very, very important. Please remember, do not allow anybody to put in a needle till all your imaging is over. And please do not hold facts from your doctor. Here I would just quickly, Glossy, add something. I still remember a patient of mine. I would always ask her, those days we didn't have technologists, so I used to do the mammogram myself. And I remember clearly asking her, have you ever had a mammogram done before? No, she was categorical. And when I finished all that and she asked me, Doctor Sahab, kuch nikla? So I said, abhi to humne images padhni hai. And that time, we used to have the darkroom technology where we used to put in the film and then take it out. It used to take a while. So I said, abhi to meko dekhna padega. Nahi, kal jab maine karaya na, to unhone kaha kuch gaanth hai. And I really lost it at that time. I told her, I said, why did you not tell me? She said, no, we wanted a second opinion. I said, for second opinion, show me your films. I'll review. I'll see whether it's been done properly, whether I need to repeat it or not. Why unnecessarily expose yourself to radiation like that? Whatever little is the radiation. Nowadays, it's even less. But why expose yourself? And also subject yourself to pain in a mammogram. So please remember, always share all your information with your doctor. Very, very important.
That's really nice, ma'am. And the emphasis on not pricking in the needle is very important for the patient as well as for the doctor to diagnose it well. Well, as you just said, that pain in the mammography. Is mammography painful? I want my audience to hear it from you. And if they have a painful lump, then should they go for a mammography?
Mammography is painful or not, I'll say it is there is a sense of discomfort, I won't say it is painful. If you have an already painful lump like cyst, or if you're doing it just before your periods when your breast is very, very congested. And I remember there used to be patients who used to come soon after a surgery. I don't know why the doctors would send the patient also like that and would insist that we do it, That is the time when it can be really painful, okay? Or even in lactational stage, when the breast is engorged with milk. Why would you want to do it at that stage? But of course, there might be a reason to do it at that time. But it's not painful, I would say. It is only a sense of discomfort, and also given the kind of digital mammograms that are there now, everything is computerized. In my time, we used to have that kind of, there used to be a knob which we used to keep turning, and it used to be a visual assessment as to whether the compression is enough or not. So I feel that this is enough. My other colleague feels, no, this is not enough. Let me put little more pressure. So, this kind of a visual assessment used to happen, whereas now it's all computerized. The machine assesses for itself how much of compression has to be given, what is the optimum compression. So do not fear. It is, and the whole procedure, I would say, right from the time you get your first, there are 4 views which we do: craniocaudal, mediolateral, 2 of each breast. And it probably does not take more than 7 to 8 minutes in the expert hands. That's all it takes. And the images are all on a computer for us to see.
Yes, absolutely. Ma'am, I loved your analogy of cricket field. On the same lines, I would like our audience to know that why is mammography not useful in younger age group, like in 20s and 30s? Why is it not useful versus because we say that mammography is the best diagnostic modality, screening modality, diagnostic modality for breast cancer, then why in younger age group?
Okay, one, I would like to say that of all the modalities, mammography is very good because it gives a global impression of the breast. When I say global, when we do ultrasound, like Glossy also does ultrasound, so she knows that even say all those patients who have got abdominal ultrasound done, there is a probe which you put on a specific area. Okay, fine. It gives you a little view of the area around it, but not of the entire place. Okay, so like if I'm doing a breast ultrasound, wherever I'm putting, I might be able to see that area and surrounding area, but not the entire breast. But when I'm doing a mammography, I'm putting the entire breast on the X-ray plate and in 2 different views, and plus which includes the armpit. So it gives us a global view. So it's a very, very good modality. But having said that, the problem is everything in imaging is about grayscale, about contrast. There is only black and white, or you can say gray and white. So it all depends on the contrast. More if there is something which is surrounded by a tissue of a different contrast, you will be able to see it better, be it ultrasound, be it mammography, be it MRI. In a younger age group, because of the hormonal changes, because the body is preparing the breast for breastfeeding a child, for basically the function of the breast is to provide milk for the child. Okay, so that is what it is preparing for pregnancy, for lactation. So the glands will be there, and the glands are white. So in mammography, if we are looking for a lump, a suspicious lump, usually its density will be the same as that of the gland around. It will get merged with it, and we will not be able to see it. Okay, but again, like I said, I cannot be categorical. In 20s, you can have a fatty breast. You can have a very glandular in 80s also. It's a very, very different thing. Okay, so it's very, very individual, I would say.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. Ma'am, what about the radiation? Whenever patients come, they often say that, Doctor Saab, isme to radiation hoti hai. Why do you want us to be exposed to radiation? We are very particular, we don't get exposed to radiation. Please put a little emphasis on what it is that, the audience must relate to, that what is the radiation that we are talking about?
So there are the pluses and the minuses, the pros and the cons of the digital medium. Okay, in fact, internet is a great thing. We acquire a lot of knowledge, but sometimes it can also cause a lot of anxiety. Okay, When we talk of radiation, yes, there is radiation in mammography, but how much? Like I said, the whole process is over in 7 to 8 minutes, but in the entire 7 to 8 minutes, you are not getting radiated. Each view is only for few seconds, very few seconds, I would say. Okay, and that too, why is mammography painful? Because we compress the breast. The idea of compression is to reduce the thickness, and in X-ray, everything is about thickness. You know, the thicker it is, the more amount of radiation you have to give. If it is thin, you don't have to give that much radiation. As it is, breast is a superficial tissue. So you don't have to go into the depth of it and give too much of radiation. So, and on top of it, when you're compressing it, you're fixing it, you've done it all. So obviously the amount of radiation which you have to give is very little. Okay. And when we talk of radiation, you get more amount of radiation from the background, you know, whether it is air travel or from the sea, from the rocks, from your laptop, from your mobile phones, from the stones and whatnots. So you receive almost radiation equal to 6 mammograms in a year. Okay. And a 7th mammogram, which is for your benefit, is not going to cause any harm to you. It is more important for professionals who are working with it, but I would say that also is not there, because we are standing behind a console which has lead in it. So there is not anything to worry about. And earlier we used to do regular mammograms on patients who had been operated, and you know, that was the only way to follow up. That's not the case now. MRI breast is fantastic. I would also like to insist that please do not say sonomammography. That's not the term. Ultrasound breast, MRI breast. Mammography is specific for the X-ray mammography only. Okay, and MRI breast is fantastic. So is the ultrasound breast, and we are able to get a lot of information from all that also. But remember, they all complement each other. There is none of this modality is a substitute for each other. If you come and say to me that why can't I do ultrasound and why can't I do MRI? No, there is a reason why we do there is a stepwise manner in which we do, because there are certain things which you see on mammogram which you will not see on ultrasound, and vice versa. And MRI will show you something else, and a biopsy will give you some other information. So many times I've heard this, अरे पैसे बनाते हैं जी, mammography तो जरूरत ही नहीं थी, मेरा ultrasound में ही दिखता है. You know, these are the things that they perpetuate, not really knowing what they're talking about. So they are not substitutes for each other. They're all complementary to each other.
Yes, ma'am. That was our next question, which has been very well answered. That annual patients coming up, why can't I have annual MRI breast versus to mammography? As you've said, that it is something, everything is complementary to each other. There is no substitute. Wonderful. Thank you so much, ma'am. It was quite, we have taken all your energy, we have taken so much of your time, but I want our audience to notice one thing sitting here, that look at her. Ma'am, can you come a little more in front?
So this I would like to show all of you. This is a brooch which I'm wearing. I must also tell you people that my sister is a breast surgeon. She's a surgical oncologist. And so we both are passionate about this particular field. And so she gave me this brooch, which is in the form of a bow. Pink bow is the symbol for breast cancer, and pink October. Pink is the color for breast cancer, and October is the Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Having said that, please do not wait for October. Breast cancer happens throughout the year. Do not get misled. I remember many people saying, "Acha, October mein zyada hota hai." Aisa bilkul nahi hota. And I'm also wearing this bracelet. If you can see, this also has a pink bow here. Okay. So whenever I do any breast cancer awareness talks, I make it a point to wear this, and that's how I design my bindi also in the form of a pink bow. And I always wear pink for my these talks.
And that's wonderful for keeping us so positive, ma'am, in such a time when we are struggling hard. We don't know when our nights are going to be. We don't know how our days are going to be. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I would request Rashmi to please give us a technical presentation here, telling us what we are now doing at Jeevanmala Hospital. We have come a long way in making our patients aware about breast cancer. right from ultrasound to mammography, making it affordable, digitalizing it at the same time, that not increasing the cost of it so that our patients can take benefit from it. How can we do it and what it is all about? Please, over to you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so very good evening to all who all are there. Myself, Rashmi, I'm a application specialist in GE Healthcare and taking care of this digital mammography MDOK product. So very first, I wanna announce one thing, that we recently installed country first MDOK digital detector in Jeevan Mala Hospital, New Delhi. This is our first installation. Of course, this requires applause. And so really, I appreciate the vision of Jeevan Mala Hospital with the eye of Dr. Glossy, that how Dr. Glossy is she's very keen to help people and create the awareness about the mammography scans. So I'm just going to take you through a small elaboration about the MDOK product, so we can know what is the benefit over the digital versus non-digital. So I'm going to share my screen here. Okay, so this is the detector that we all are talking about. This is basically a MDOK, and this is a complete digital detector, what you can see in your screen. So I'm going to tell you some little about the key benefits. What is the benefits of this slides? So basically, this is a digital detector. So over the non-digital, there is a multiple benefits, right? As Dr. Glossy and Dr. Dua was discussing about the less radiation dose, less timings, right? So this detector gives you the complete package for that, right? Radiation time reduces a lot. You can say it's approx 40 to 50% less as compared to non-digital. When your radiation dose is going less, when scan time is going less, definitely it increases the patient comfort, right? So this scan is all about the patient comfort is a superior thing. So when patient feel comfort, your scan image quality definitely increase because there's no movement, you can get better images. So you can see in my screen that there's a way, as compared to the non-digital product, higher readout speed is there, there's no noise, so you can get your excellent image quality. There is more reliable, this is very reliable product, so you can trust that product. Your doctors can trust that product because you are getting a very high spatial resolution. So chances to miss any minute details is very, very less, right? And this is same time very easy to integrate in any type of systems, right? So your older machine, your analog machine can become the digital machine, right? Next slide, please. Yeah. So here we can see that first key benefit of this digital product is retrofit vendor diagnostic detector, right? So this detector or this product can be fit into any type of analog machine, and it gives you the benefit of digital detectors, right? Digital machines like image quality or less radiation dose. Your data transfer time is very high, so your patient doesn't have to wait, right? Normally in non-digital function, what we are doing, we are taking the exposures, we are waiting, your patient is waiting, but here immediately you can see your images in your computer. So your patient feels more comfort, patient waiting time is very less, right? Same time, this detector gives you the very smallest pixel size, that is 70 microns, right? Normally in non-digital, it comes approx 100 to 100 microns. But when we talk about 70 microns, normally it comes into the dental part, right? Because of the small anatomy. So when it comes into the like mammography or breast imaging, it gives you more higher resolution, more spatial resolution in your images. So type of tiny microcalcification, any type of lump, skin, and you can't miss in the image. So this is also a very good benefit over the non-digital. Apart from this, there's an AED that is built in the detector across the area, right? Normally AED is only at some specific area, so radiation dose is high. But here in your detector, it is completely over the across area. So your exposure absorption is very, very sensitive, right? Your patient will get the good images in very low radiation dose, right? Then there's a wide dynamic range. So there's a, like ma'am, Dr. Dua was targeting that point, that about the grayscale, right? That's a bit, right? So what we are talking in radiology, for the gray to white, there's a scale, right? So in this machine, in this detector, you will get a 350 mR sensitivity, right? So you will get your images in 14 different contrasts. In the same image, you can see 14 contrasts, right? All the radiology eyes can easily visible that. Then there's a line pair, so very high line pair is there, so there is a good resolution. And this detector having a, some unique type of sensitivity for the radiation absorption, right? If you see this product, you will find out that back of the product, there's a carbon plate, right? That makes this detector in their own very unique, right? So normally it's basically, you can say as a technically, you can see it as a AEC area, right? So it is having a more AEC area. So you have to give less compression to patient. So patient will get more, you can say comfort, patient will get the comfort, and your radiation dose is also very less. So your time of the compression is also become very less. I'll show you in my next slide a briefing of the advantage for the patient and for your radiologist. So here in the quick, we can see for the patient, less scan time, that helps in patient comfort, because this study, right, mammography included it having some type of compression, right, that gives a sense of pain to the patient. So when your timing is less, everything will become very comfortable for your patient, for your technician, right? Same time, very low exposure and very precise diagnosis. When there's a precise diagnosis, there's a less repeat scans, right? You can trust your report. You can see that your repeating is not happening, right? For the radiologist, same time, very image quality will be very superior and less time. So your completely workflow will be very easy. Plus, same time, the patient is also getting very less radiation dose. So we can see here, these both things will work together. If your patient is in a comfortable zone with a less time of scan, with a less radiation dose, doctor is also happy and your patient is also happy. Right? Benefits of your digital products. So this is our MDUK. So these are some contact, or you can see on the screen if for the further information. This is from my side. Thank you. Over to Meghna.
That was real useful information. We were able to understand the benefits of digital compared to the non-digital mammography. So now, if I may, Dr. Glossy and Dr. Dua, we have few questions from the participants. So I'll read them out to you, and if you can answer them and help our participants.
Absolutely.
So ma'am, the first one, Dr. Glossy, this is to you, and the participant says, I am 35 years old, and how frequently should I go for mammography?
See, as Dr. Dua very nicely explained, that when we say mammography, every country has their own task force for breast cancer screening. Whenever we are saying 40 is, why do we say 40? Because it is our midlife that we say, and the breast undergoes changes, it becomes more fatty, but at the same time, like Dua ma'am said before, that at 20 also you can have a fatty breast. So there is no such clear-cut rule that, okay, 40 mammography, below 40 not mammography. If you're 35, you need to get your risk assessment done. If your risk assessment is done, you are low risk, you will continue getting an ultrasound breast till you are turning 40, and then your mammogram starts. But if you are in moderate or in high risk category, then definitely at 35, you will undergo at least one mammogram coupled with an ultrasound or an MRI, depending on your finding of mammography.
Thank you, Dr. Glossy, for that. I hope it helped the person who asked the question. Now, moving on to the next one. The question is mammography required at the age of 70?
Dr. Dua ma'am.
Yeah. See, at the age of 70, what we say is that it depends on if you have 10, if keeping in mind your general health, if your life expectancy is expected that you will have 10 more years of existence. Of course, none of us know whether we are going to be alive for another year or another day, or none of us know. But given your overall health, if they expect that there are 10 more years of life for you, then they say that you should go on continuing doing mammogram, but maximum till the age of 75, not usually more than that. But having said that, I have had patients at 80 coming to me with breast cancer. Then those are unique cases. There is not, you will not, that becomes a diagnostic mammography. We are talking of a screening mammography. Screening mammography at least till 75.
Absolutely. Yes, Meghna, do we have more questions?
Yes, we have another question, and this says, doctor, like you said, for under 40 after periods is the best time to get the scan done. But for above 40 years of age, what is the best time to get mammography done in the month?
Same.
The same,
It has
yeah.
to be. Yeah. Because if they are menstruating, it is always best from the first day of period till the 10th day. Why? Because your breast is softest, there is that congestion is all gone, and also since you are in the reproductive age group, you can be very sure you are not pregnant during that time. So first 10 days, you're very sure about that. After the time that you finish your periods, you're menopausal, then choose one day in the month, any one day. Keep that day fixed. And I must also impress on this that please do not start feeling your breast every day. It is like if you are cooking, if you taste your dish that you're making which has salt, if you have tasted it, after that another teaspoon that you take, your tongue is sensitized and it is not going to clearly make out that there is salt, whether it is less or more. But the same thing will happen in mammography also. Your hands will become insensitive to it. Every day you're starting feeling that breast, that doesn't make sense. So just do it once a month, but do it properly. Learn how to do it properly. Okay. That is why, because of this anxiety which is created by an improper breast self-examination, there's a big debate about whether we should do it or not. But there are many people who detect the lump only on self-examination. So I would not say that one should not do it. One should do it, but please do it properly and don't get paranoid. If there is something that you discover, please seek your consultant's opinion on it. Do not ignore. That's all. It's important to do it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Dua, for the very clear explanation, how that helps. And finally, we have the final question for the session. And the question is, what is that information which might get missed in a USG mammography versus X-ray mammography?
Microcalcifications, one of the most important things which you will miss, which you see on mammography is the only modality where you see. Okay. And of course, with the advancement of ultrasounds, you're able to see, but not as clearly as in a mammogram. And of course, having said that, in a dense breast, sometimes those calcifications get hidden, but still, microcalcifications are the best modality of detecting them is definitely a mammogram.
Yeah. And when we say microcalcification for the audience, these are it's a like a beginning of the cancer that we want to pick up. So they are like little powder particles that you see on the mammogram. So absolutely.
Sorry.
Yes.
I would also like to say that when you go for your mammogram, please do not apply, sprinkle any powder on yourself or use a deodorant, because we do not know what ingredients are there in it. Ideally, just have a simple bath, but nicely, so that there are no soap flakes also, because they are all calcium containing. These can all cause artifacts and can cause tension. Okay. And preferably wear a two-piece dress so that you can take off just the top and get your mammogram done.
Great. Thank you. Do we have more questions?
I've just noticed there is another question. If I may, go ahead.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Dr. Swati. So the question is, what will be the minimal size of the lesion that can be intervened by digital imaging mammography? And is there any chances of false positives?
I haven't worked on the latest digital one. Glossy would be able to tell better.
Yes. So when we are saying what is the minimum size of the lesion, when we are talking about a screening digital mammogram, we are actually talking about before the lesion has formed, before that actual size has formed. We are talking about small dust-like particles, powder-like particles that we want to pick up on a mammogram. Once the lesion has formed, whether it is 2 millimeters, 1 millimeter, 10 millimeter, it can be picked up on ultrasound also. What is the point of mammogram? Mammogram screening is for that time when you are looking at those punctate type. So the lesion has not yet formed and it is a very, very early cancerous stage that we have picked up. So that is the whole point of it. So there is no size of the lesion. It has not even formed yet. And yes, false positive, of course, like Dua ma'am said, there are calcium particles. If you have put deodorant, if there is anything, it can give. If there is a little dust particle, it can give. So what do? We have different techniques to do it. We put a compression and we do a tomosynthesis. So we have a digital mammogram and then we have a tomosynthesis. A digital mammogram is looking at the book from the cover, which is screening, which is good, versus a tomosynthesis, which is going through the pages of the book. So we go through the slide by slide in those cases where we have those microcalcium.
Just like we talk of a CAT scan, which is done in different. So it's like slicing something in layers and seeing it. That is what it is all about.
Absolutely.
And I must tell you that there was a patient who I had who had, she'd had some kind of a wound and she had put a plaster. Those days we didn't have a micropore, so there was leucoplast. And that used to stick so badly. And I remember the artifacts that were there because of that. It was like, it was just stuck to the skin, though we removed it. But they were like calcium particles, microcalcifications. These can play havoc on your mind, So you that, when everything is absolutely clean, then come to us. So these things, we have gone through that era, but thankfully now you people don't have to go through it.
That's wonderful.
Just cite examples for it. For people.
Yes.
Right. Thank you so much, Dr. Bloody and Dr. Dua. And with that, we come to the end of this session. And once again, I would like to thank both of you for giving us so much insights and giving us awareness. Hopefully, all the participants would have found it very useful and now they would pass on the information as well. And I would also like to thank Ms. Rashmi Jha for explaining us the benefits of the digital and the non-digital mammography and helping us understand the effectiveness of G. Finally, thank you everyone so much for joining in, and we hope you found this session very informative. You take relevant care of yourself and pass on the information to your mother, sister, daughter, friend, and all the female colleagues who will definitely find it useful. So, thank you all once again. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, ma'am, for joining us. Thank you, Rashmi. Thank you, GE team. We are really blessed to have you, and Jeevanmala has a long association with GE. We're looking forward to many, many more. Thank you, Dua ma'am, for being with us. Thank you so much.
Pleasure was mine. Have a great evening, all of you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, ma'am.
All of
Yes.